Welcome to the Tell Her podcast, a place where we share stories from extraordinary, ordinary women, delve into what it's really like behind closed doors when dealing with life's ups and downs, and how women get the courage and push through and get up every day and carry on with our ordinary lives while doing extraordinary things. I'm your host, Sharni Knighton, and I cannot wait for you to meet some of the incredible women that I get to meet through my work as a hair loss specialist. Welcome to the Tell Her podcast. It's a podcast about extraordinary, ordinary women and experiences, and that's why I've brought you on. We met in my hair loss clinic, and I can't even remember how long it's been because I feel like you've been coming to me forever. I just feel like part and parcel now of like my experience at work.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
I think I first came to you in September 23.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
okay.
it'll be 2 years this September, won't it?
Yeah. I was talking to Abby because I met you through Abby, who's your stepdaughter.
Yeah.
How life is so strange, how entwined it is.
Yeah.
Because I met Abby at a hair event, and I was teaching, and she came up and we only had like a 5-minute interaction, but there was just something about those 5 minutes that like really, she's like a very memorable person though, isn't she?
Yes,
anyway?
she is, yeah.
And then how that is all entwined, and now she does my hair, I do your hair. You travel for miles to me and I travel to miles to her. And I'm just like really grateful for those small interactions that obviously build into bigger things. What was it that made you decide to...
Because Abby, obviously, my stepdad's always done my hair.
Yeah.
Well, for a long time. It was following my cancer.
Yeah.
Obviously, I lost my hair with the breast cancer and the treatment. And as my own hair started to grow back, it was fine. It was quite healthy, but it's very fine, very thin. And it was strange, really, because even though she'd done a really good job of it, I was still wearing wigs at the time because prior to my cancer, I had long hair.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was very thick hair. It was, but I had long hair.
Yeah.
And it was kind of me. I've always had long hair. I think we're
well.
born with long hair.
Yeah.
I'm very boring when it comes to hair. I've never had any wild styles or anything. It's always just been long, straight hair. And I think after the cancer and the treatment, although at the time, my hair wasn't the be-all and end-all. I was just happy to survive cancer, you know. I was wearing wigs, which made me feel a bit better because it was back to my hair and me. And it felt like me again, wearing these wigs. But they weren't ideal because taking them off, you couldn't put them up. They weren't particularly brilliant quality, the ones I'd got and so forth. Anyway, when my own hair did eventually start to grow back, I was just conscious that even if I went out, I never felt dressed up. It never felt nice. It was short. I know lots of people around me go, oh, it looks lovely, your hair now. It's short and curly and all this. But I didn't feel like me. And I never felt dressed up. And if it was slightly warm or anything, it'd be stuck to my face before you knew it. So thin and flimsy, it'd be stuck to my head. And and obviously as I'm a singer as well, I used to go on singing and gigging. I just didn't feel nice. So I was reverting back to wearing these wigs, which all of a sudden look wiggy, if you know what I mean. They weren't...
You were conscious of wearing it.
So and it was actually starting to make me feel quite down.
Okay.
You know, because I was like looking and thinking... I've come through this journey, but now I just want to get back to being who I was before, you know, or that person.
Yeah.
And when I spoke to Abby, she was very, she said, you know what? She said, have you heard of IntelliMesh? And I went, what's IntelliMesh? Because what I had started to do, what I've missed out there was that when it did start to grow, to try and get back to something, I went back having extensions.
Oh, I remember,
with a gentleman who used to do my hair, but it was like a problem to solve a problem, but it actually caused a problem because my hair wasn't strong enough.
Yeah. I always say it's like a short-term solution, long-term problem.
The thing is, Abby had spent so much time caring for my hair, the new hair that came through.
Yeah.
And it was in such good condition, but very fine. And then I went and had extensions put in, not by Abby, somebody else. Really, who should have said no.
Okay.
But they didn't, obviously to please me.
I was going to say, I think that's a problem in the industry. Like hairdressers sometimes don't do what they already know in the back of the mind.
Yeah.
They're like, we are generally people pleasers.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that needs to change is that we need to know when to say no.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this yesterday, when to direct somebody in another direction.
Yeah.
And just be happy that that person's seeing who they need to see.
Yeah.
But I think it will change. I think because lots more people in the industry now are specialising in particular things, that will start to happen over the next few years.
People saying, well, actually, I think, I did, and I ended up having these extensions in. And at first it was great. I was like, oh, wow, I'm back, and one by one they kept coming out. They were snapping my hair. They were like a keratin bond.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like getting like bald patches here, and it was just, and in the end Abby said, you're just not working. And I said, well, what do I do with my hair? And I was really quite low with it. And then she mentioned, about IntelliMesh, and she said, I met this amazing person, Sharni K. And I said, Sharni K. And she said she does all this IntelliMesh, and she does it for people who've had cancer or people who've other medical conditions causing, or just generally not happy with, the hair or... And that was it. And she said, let me drop her a line and see if she's available. But she's in Gainsborough, blah, blah. And I said, I don't care. I'll travel anywhere. I'm not bothered, But because Abigail was advocating for you, and that meant a lot to me, because I thought Abby wouldn't
and
push
Abby's
somebody
got
forward.
Very high standards anyway, and like ethically and stuff like that as well.
Abby wouldn't suggest yourself if she didn't absolutely 100% believe in you and your work and what you do. And for me, that was good. That was the only reason why, because I wouldn't, there's no way if somebody else, there's somebody nearer to us I've learned since who does the same thing.
I think there's going to be lots more people popping up, and I think one of the things why I want to do this kind of thing and the education is so that people can have that confidence when they're choosing somebody, because they know that they sit within what I want to build as a brand, like the ethics and that kind of thing, and hopefully like it'll be more accessible to more people. But it's a massive compliment, because as I said, like being able to sit in someone's chair and feel confident and just sit there and trust what the person's doing. I had that experience with Abby a few weeks ago, making me blonde, and I said to it, it gives me the appreciation, because I think it's one of the only times I've ever felt like that. And that's the experience I want to create for my clients.
Which you do.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Which you 100% do. Yeah.
So I think it's important. And I think allowing people to have a voice as well. Like, so the client doesn't have to just sit there and be quiet and like just accept what you're doing. It's like every time you come, we have the discussion, like what's working, what's not working, what would you like to change? I learn from you. Like what I can improve. I feel
confident enough to be able to sit there and say to you, oh, Sharni, do you not think this? And sometimes, it's been like, and you've gone, okay then, so you wanted this, and then you've had to actually undo it again, do this. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. But it's never a problem. And I never feel nervous about saying, oh, I'm not liking that. I'll tell you, and I'll say,
Well, at the end of the day, I'm not wearing it for 3 months. So it's like, it's really important.
But it's nice as a client to feel like that, because there's a lot of places or a lot of things in life I think you can go into, and we just put up and shut up and think, oh, I don't like that. Don't like it, but I'm not going to say nothing. And then you come out, and then after you think, why? But I've never had that feeling. From the moment I met you, from the moment we did that first Zoom, because you were so far away,
I forgot we'd done a Zoom.
We did a Zoom. And there was another reason why I couldn't come down. I can't remember, but we did this Zoom, and from the moment, from that, I just got a good feeling, good vibe with it.
It's important. It is really important, because it can be a long journey, or it can be, is that my phone or yours?
Mine. It's my watch. Sorry.
I'm like this.
No, you can, honestly, if you've got anything to interject, please do. Is that right?
Yeah, I just didn't want it to be
You're
going
You're
off.
a popular lady. It's like that when you're in the clinic though, isn't it? Your phone's constantly going off. Like mine. So what would you say, we'll go back to you, what would you say makes you who you are, like as an individual? Like what has shaped you as a person, or like what do you do that brings you joy?
I think for me personally, I think I've always been I'm a people's person.
Yeah.
I like being with people.
Yeah.
I like I think I'm quite outgoing. I'm friendly. I like to, and I'm interested in people. So I like to hear people and I like to hear their stories. And
You're infectious.
Yeah. What's going on, with other people. I'm also a really good listener. And if somebody says something to me and says, I don't want you to say anything to anybody, I will take that with me to the grave, honestly. Even if I had the biggest argument with somebody, that said person, and they told me the deepest, darkest, it would never come out. I am a very loyal person in that respect. And I'm strong. Yes. I am a strong person, and I am a very positive person.
Yeah, those two things together are a good combination.
Yeah. And I do always try to. In fact, I always try and find a positive in a negative. If there's a horrible negative situation, I do always try and find the positive out of it. It doesn't mean I don't get sad or down, because we're all human, aren't we? But when I do sit back, I sometimes do sit down and then think back over what's gone on and think, well, yeah, but this happened and this was good. This came out of that. And if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am now. Do you know what I mean?
I've had to learn to do that. Like I've always thought everything happens for a reason.
I am 100% believer.
But then we had an incident in our family and I was like, can't see the reason in that. So I've struggled for a little bit, but then I started doing this thing called Dr. Martinez, and he believes in that you should neutralise everything. So even if it's not happening for a reason, you can neutralise it with an opposite.
Yeah.
And that's really helped me. And it helps you be able to process and move on.
Yeah.
And then, like they try and see a positive in it. Otherwise, you are going to go around in circles, aren't you?
You are. And I think if you let something, how can I say, if it is a bad situation, you can make it, for me, 100 times worse, even more than, if you just give in to that and just drown in all that negativity of whatever's going on. I think you've got to try and get onto something and try and pull yourself back out of it, no matter what, because I think having a positive attitude will get you through, and I've seen that in my job, my role as a palliative care nurse, 2 people with the same diagnosis.
Different,
and one's very positive and, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to beat this, and the other person probably, that's me, I'm done, I don't know how to deal with this.
Do you think that attitude affects how their treatment goes?
Exactly. It does. And I've seen it myself. So basically, as sad as it sounds, because I used to only deal with people who were deemed to be in the last 12 months of life anyway. Okay. So it wasn't people who could be cured or... So it was always palliative care. But you could guarantee that the person who had the positive outlook, who was wanting to try and carry on, would last a lot longer, would survive a lot longer. And I've seen that myself, So whether that has had an impact on me as well, that you've got to be positive, you've got to, I know it's very hard sometimes and not everybody can find a positive, But me personally, that's my coping mechanism. That's how I have to get through a situation, is try and think, right, what's positive out of this? Do
you ever let yourself feel the sad and that kind of thing? So you allow the feeling, but you just don't move on.
I try. Like I said, it doesn't mean that just because I'm positive, it's all right. People saying, oh, you got to keep your chin up and carry on. I don't have that attitude. I don't think if somebody's really down with something, and I don't think it helps saying, oh, well, Joe Blogg's down the road, he's got it 100 times worse than you. So that all of a sudden then you go, oh, I feel all right now. Now that I know Joe down the road's having it worse than me. It does.
Time too.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. And I think telling somebody, when people say to you, oh, get your chin up, you've got this, this and this. It doesn't matter, does it? If you're feeling down about something or sad about something, you feel sad and down about it. It's somebody's just telling you to put your ideas up and, well, you're going on holiday next year. What's wrong with you? You'll be all right. You can't just do that.
Probably like a misconception then, isn't it? That people think if you're being positive, it means you don't have the opposite emotion. Yeah. But there's always 2 sides to everything, isn't there?
You can be positive, but I still have my down times where I'm sad or I'll worry and I'm not feeling top of the morning and great. But what I'm saying is eventually I will sit and reflect back on it and think, right, come on, I can have my down times and I can have my days where I don't feel the best and I'm not feeling Mrs. Positive, but I don't let it consume me. That's what I mean. I don't stay in that mode. I try and pull myself back out of it and think, right, come on, Let's think of...
I suppose that's I think when you don't allow those smaller feelings, they just grow anyway.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you don't have the big, not a big emotion, that's the wrong way to say it, but it don't get you depressed, as in, like, you don't let it get to that point because you're dealing with it at the beginning.
And I think for me as well is which, to be fair, when I think really from 2016, really, it's been hard. It's been really hard, not just with my cancer journey, other things that have gone on in my life, work situation, I got knocked down, work situation,
We both got knocked down.
You both got knocked down?
By people carrier in Lake Windermere crossing a road,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And it seemed to be from the 30th of March 2016, my direction, my life just changed. It was on a downhill slope all the way. Honest to God, it's been horrendous, and that was the key point. And then after that, just one thing after another, bad things, negative things, horrible things, just that. Then there was a job situation where I was used as a scapegoat because of somebody's incompetencies, and basically because I highlighted things that weren't right, I got, it was easier to get rid of me than,
honestly, I just see that so many times within like that industry. It's because they don't want the bigger...
It was, a very short version of it, I would have been exposing perhaps things that they had been negligent in and not done. So to save so many people, it was easier, let's make me the scapegoat.
That little
and that actually absolutely ruined me.
How long had you worked for them before that?
I'd worked for them for 3 years.
Yeah.
And
it's not an easy job, is it?
No, it's not an easy job, and I loved my job. I loved my job. I love my patients. Like I said, I'm a people person. I like meeting people. I like hearing their stories, the journeys. I'm a good listener,
Can I just say I overheard a conversation of Lisa, and she didn't know, and I can't think what happened, but I heard a telephone conversation. I was on the end of the line. Something happened and I could hear her.
Yeah.
She didn't know I was listening. I could hear her talking to a patient.
Oh.
And I thought, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The way you spoke to the patient, like reassuring, and the kindness.
Yeah.
You didn't know I was listening.
No.
And it was lovely.
And authentic.
But the job itself was lovely, but there was a matter of 3 people who absolutely... they just crucified me. And it crucified me because they were trying to, in a way, it was making me feel that I was a bad person, that I wasn't doing my job right, that I wasn't a good nurse, I wasn't
you're such an ethical people, like you say, ethical people person, for somebody to...
And that had for me, it was probably, I have to say, even above my cancer, it was the worst time in my whole life. The lowest I've ever been. And unfortunately, because I was badly affected with it, it affected my mum, my dad, my mother, Marie, my husband, the whole family, because all of a sudden, me, Mrs. Bubbly, outgoing chatterbox Charlie and all the rest of it, who's normally getting everybody else up, was absolutely flat as a pancake, and...
If you're like the hub of the family and then all of a sudden it's like,
it was the worst I've ever been. And I don't know if I actually feel that was the cause of my dad's cancer. I was going to ask you that. The stress. Because it was an unusual thing he got in, but my dad was really stressed with it, and he was saying to my husband, keep your eye on Lisa, I'm really worried. And my mum and dad lived with us at this point as well. We have an annex, so they could see every day.
Especially like an older man, his job in his eyes is to protect. And
my dad wanted to go up there. My dad wanted to go up there, borrow one of the machines.
Went in the meeting.
Oh, did you?
It was awful.
Because we watched Lisa go up.
God,
it was terrible.
Led that meeting has since said she didn't handle it very well.
No, they've actually said since, because one of my friends, good friends, stayed, two of my other best friends left.
Right, okay.
As a result of how they treated me.
Yeah.
And now one of the main people who's still there, who caused it, has actually said, we shouldn't have done what we did to Lisa.
That's all right in retrospect, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's like
but
a
that
catalyst.
really shaped my life.
Yeah,
and it knocked my confidence as a nurse. Moving forward, I was absolutely just doubting myself, embarrassed, shamed, like, what if people believe this? Or
I feel like, and your job it's part of your identity, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like you put your best of yourself, especially in like that kind of job, and for somebody to whip that from under your feet, I can imagine that it would just.
And I think for me as well, that was that part. And then I think as well for me, because it hit me so hard, that is because I went to nursing quite late. I went in at 35 years old.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I was I remember being sat at university in a room with a group of children, teenagers. And I remember the lecturer going around and saying, right, we're going to go around, we're all going to introduce ourselves, and we're going to say, I want you to all say your name and why you're here and what age, And so there's going around, and hi, I'm Julie, I'm 18, and I've always wanted to be a nurse. And then it goes to the next one, oh, I'm John, and I'm 23, and da-da-da-da. And by the time it got to me, it was like, I'm Lisa, I'm 35, and I haven't got a clue what I'm doing here. So at university thinking, what am I doing here?
But been at the hospital.
Yeah, I'd worked for the hospital, but used to be a supervisor, clerical supervisor, so I used to run all the clinics for the oral surgery department. But yeah, it was just bizarre. It was a big leap to.
What made you actually make that leap then?
What happened is I used to work in oral surgery, and I was, like I said, the manager in there. And one day this lady came and this is literally what changed my mind. This lady came to the window and she said, I've just come to tell you, she said, I'm an epileptic and I always get a minute's notice. Because with epileptics, they usually get about a minute's notice, something will start happening or they'll get a taste. And she said, I'm going to have a fit. Oh, so I was like, right, come quickly. So we got her out and got her into this room and laid. And she had a fit.
Wow.
And when she came out of it, she said, thank you very much, Barbara. And all of a sudden I realised, I thought, I want to be on this side. I don't want to be doing notes and documentation and booking people in. I actually want to... I actually enjoyed looking after her.
Like your instincts had kicked in and you knew.
I don't mean I'm glad she had a fit, but I mean, it just made me realise. And then I thought, oh, I can't do all that university now. I'm 35. I've been, and there was another younger nurse there.
Okay.
Who worked in oral surgery, and she said to me, listen, she said, you can. She said, I'm the most unacademic person ever. She said, but I've got through my nursing. She said, if I can do it, you can do it. Yeah. And it just so happened, coming back to what you said about things happening for a reason.
Exactly. I was just going to say that right person.
Yeah, that person triggered it. And also, at that particular time, the hospital was sponsoring people to do the nurse training. So the bursary was so low for nursing then. Okay. Now, obviously, at 35, I've already got a house, a mortgage, a child, so I can't afford to drop my wage straight back down to, I think it was something like, I'm going back quite a while now because I'm 55 now. So I'm going over 20 years ago. Yeah. And I think the bursary was something like 5,000 and something.
Like a year.
And it was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do it, And it just so happened that the hospital was sponsoring 5 people.
So were they doing they would give you like a wage?
They would add up the bursary, so it went to something like, I think it was just under 10,000. Yeah. And then I thought, well, if they did that, and along with me singing, I just had to sing every weekend and sing my heart out to get some money. I thought, I can do it, I can do it. So then I had to obviously speak to my husband, Darren, because all of a sudden I might be doing shifts and nights. Yeah. And at first he was like, oh, you can't be doing that. No, because it was just, he'd always been used to me being
You're
there.
You're the hub of his home, aren't you? It's like all of a sudden you've got to share you.
But then he said, no, go for it. So, and I thought, and then the hospital said they were doing that. And I thought, oh, I could do it. But obviously I had to get taken on first.
Right, okay.
Anyway, I went to the people in the hospital and they said, yeah, we'd love to take you on. So all of a sudden it all kind of went really fast. And all of a sudden I'm sat in this room in a university in Salford. I'm thinking, what am I doing here?
That's amazing.
A
leap of faith.
Completely out of my comfort zone, completely different. And I remember them talking about, well, obviously you'll be doing assignments on things. And obviously we use the Harvard referencing system. And I went, the Harvard what?
I don't even know what that
Harvard
is.
what's the Harvard referencing system? And I'm looking and everyone's like, yeah, okay. And I'm thinking, I don't know what that is. So then when it had finished and everyone was like going after the first class, I actually went up to the lecturer and said, what's Harvard referencing? They said, oh, well, basically it's a system. So when you do anything you're doing, so if you're saying you're doing a talk on, I don't know, flowers, whatever, are they good, are they bad, or whatever, you can't just say, I think them flowers are beautiful, they look lovely.
Yeah.
I've got to, and they're really good for your health or whatever. You've got to actually have some evidence that says, this is why that's really good.
Yeah.
However, Joe Bloggs over here says actually he doesn't agree with Julie Smith that them are great flowers.
Yeah.
Joe Bloggs thinks they're terrible and then it's referencing that person.
Yeah.
And it's finding good people who've researched things, looked into exactly why, what's what.
Doing that balance again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously the referencing system is how you have to document every piece that's in your assignment. You have to put in
your brain,
where you've got it from, who did it, what date it was, and then there's a certain way of writing the reference.
Okay.
So because I didn't know about this at all, and this is pretty much me in life.
Okay.
If I'm doing anything, I've got to do it well.
Okay.
I've got to know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
Because I can't profess to be
good
at something, or this is my thing, if I don't know the ins and outs of it. So then I went home and all I did was read up about Harvard referencing, how to do it. And so now, bring it on. Give me something. I'll Harvard reference it for you.
I feel like you didn't just take on the university challenge and go and learn to be a nurse. You've had to learn a skill to be able to learn to be a nurse.
Yeah.
So it's like such a big thing. How long did it take you in total?
It took 3 years.
Okay.
And you have to go on the wards training that. But I think where I had the benefit, or the advantage, not the benefit, the advantage, I've got life skill. Yeah. I was 35, I've got experience.
I was just thinking, you being on that course with those younger people would have changed their experience. Yeah. Like having somebody with life experience.
Yeah.
Like it would have been such an advantage for them as well.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Well, I did. So obviously I did my nurse training and I loved it. As soon as I got on the wards, I thought, oh, this is what I wanted to do. Yeah. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Meeting Mr. Smith, who's had a fall and done, absolutely love it. And listen to his story and about what he goes on at home. And then it's strange, and because then as life went, as obviously once I qualified, I became a district nurse. So I was going in the community, but then I took my mentorship, so that I could teach. So then I used to be a practice education lead for all the students. So new students would come to me and then I'd allocate them a mentor. I'd do all their appraisals. I'd do their, how they're going on. So on the wards then, when I was on the wards, I'd have students and I'd be dedicating them and
affected all of their learning. Yeah. That's amazing.
Which then obviously led on to later on in life, I became a end-of-life care facilitator.
Okay.
So
was that a conscious decision to go into that field, or
again, through being a district nurse, we do go out to end-of-life care patients just to administer medication. You're not there doing all the psychological stuff and the support.
Yeah,
the district nurses do go out and do the medication. I'm not saying that we don't offer. Of course, district nurses do. They have a massive job to do. The district nurses, especially, and they have a big influx in end-of-life care. Yeah. Looking after them and medications and such. But it's not as specialised as somebody who's taking somebody on from the beginning and doing the psychological stuff.
Okay.
While I went in the community, so I did come across obviously palliative patients, and I did feel it was kind of my forte. I was drawn to it, I know it sounds a bit sad that, doesn't it? But it's not, for me, it was always about ensuring people had a good death or they got what they wanted in life or to be as comfortable as possible for however long they've got left.
Yeah, no.
So actually, again, things happen for a reason. Yeah. I was doing my district nursing, enjoying what I was doing, but then I started with back problems.
Okay.
And it's being on the floor, as any district nurse will tell you.
Okay.
Compression bandaging with a
I'm not even
fire
thinking
on,
about the fact that you're doing that.
Yeah, you're up and down, leg ulcers, dressings, you're bending down. And so I started with back problems and which at the time I ended up going for because he thought that was cancer on my spine.
Okay.
But anyway, thankfully, a month later, it wasn't.
Okay.
And purely by chance, while I was actually off recovering, a job came up for an end-of-life care facilitator in the same place in the same area where I was working as a district nurse for this end-of-life care facilitator, which was to introduce, it was more of a training programme.
Right.
Introducing the Northwest 6-step end-of-life care programme into the care homes in Oldham.
So it's something brand new?
Brand new,
okay.
Yeah. And I applied and I got the job.
Amazing.
So again, because of my bad back being off, I wouldn't have even been looking for a job. And then this came up. So I became an end-of-life care facilitator. And I'd probably say it's one of the proudest things I've done in all my career.
Yeah.
Even though I was proud of myself for becoming a nurse in the first place, because I found it quite challenging, changing my life at 35.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
But yeah, this end-of-life care programme, so it was my programme. It weren't my programme, but it was a programme given to me that I had to implement, but I could do it in my way. And it was for the care staff in the nursing homes, care homes. And it was about educating the staff on giving good end-of-life care. So for somebody who's been living in a care home, that's their home. If they become poorly, they shouldn't have to be sent into hospital. If somebody wants to die in the home or be in
even the moving of somebody and from there to a hospice.
So the programme basically was educating the care home staff how to identify somebody who's perhaps coming into the last 12 months of life. The little things that will change, like they might be having to have more hospital appointments or ailments or not as frail, more frail or just more doctor's appointments, is things changing with the health. And it was getting them to identify perhaps somebody and then start looking at the process. It's a long process, but it's a slow process, but it gives the care home staff tools to recognise things and also to enable them to give the best care possible to that person and treat every person as an individual.
Yeah. Does it involve like the person's families, like prepping them for...
Yes. Bringing them in and asking them all together while the person, what do you want for, for your auntie, your uncle, and the person themselves, making them the prime person to say what they want.
Yeah. Do you know, like I talk all the time about how we have so many things taken out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people, once you get given control back or some options, it helps you cope with whatever it is. So obviously with us, it's hair.
Yeah.
So my job is to give people options. Do you think that when somebody's at end of life, if they feel more control, they have a better experience on the way out?
I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it. A lot of people go, I'm not talking about when I'm dead, I'm dead, and a lot do feel like that. Me personally, my opinion, and probably the way I am, it doesn't mean that I'm right, because everybody's allowed how they feel, to feel how they feel. But for me, if you can putting things in place that would be so important to you. So, for example, if I'm dying, so you can do an advanced care plan where you can put in things exactly what you would want.
I've bought a book.
Yeah. So if I want an
everyone in my house thinks I'm so sad. I've got this book and I've just done all my will and everything. And in my will it's got like my songs and everything. And the kids are like, Mum, that is so mobbing. I'm like, no, it's like,
it's what you want.
Yeah, and I don't want my family to have to deal with that. Like, I think because I'm like you, I see people who pass through and it can happen quickly, it can happen slowly. And we've had experience, obviously, with like losing my stepmom and that experience after that for my brother. I just wouldn't ever want anyone else to have to deal with those things. Like, they should be able to focus on the grief and getting through that. So yeah, I'll talk about death. I just think it is part of life. And
well, it's so, for example, if and also it's important to do it while that person's compos mentis.
Yeah.
And while that person is able to make those decisions, even if you don't agree with them decisions, it doesn't mean that they're losing their mind. It's at the end of the day, if somebody makes a decision and it's a bad decision, that's theirs to make.
Yeah.
If they want whatever they want, they can have. And by doing that, you know then that if they did lose capacity, You're doing what your loved one wanted.
Yeah,
That's
like
they
honouring
wrote down and
them.
said that is what they want, and not saying making their own mind. Oh well, actually, I don't think she really wanted that. We'll do this.
Yeah.
Stops a lot of disagreements with families and so forth. So
yeah.
this advanced care plan, it's great. So, and I used to always advocate it. And so, for example, for me, I'm a severe claustrophobic, so there's no way on this earth am I going to be buried in a coffin underground.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing. If my husband hates me or my family hates me, that's what they're going to do. They're going to bury me. But for me, I want to be cremated. It's got to be a wicker casket so that I can have a little peep through.
Yeah. Okay.
Just check who's come to see me, who hasn't, and that if I'm not really gone, I can kick it and get out.
Yeah.
You know,
you have really thought about this.
Yeah, but equally, if I'm even if I'm ill and poorly, I've said I'll be dying with this IntelliMesh system on. Yeah, this better be on. So Sharni K, you better be coming sorting my hair out, and I'll always have my eyelashes on.
Yeah,
always. My eyelashes never come off.
Yeah,
I've always got my eyelashes on.
People are more ready to decide what they want when they know their end of life, because they know.
Yeah, but I think
people are probably like I'm not saying, oh, I don't bother putting that down. But when you know, then you are ready to say, well.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of people, though, are even in my job, I have seen it. A lot of people still are coerced and bullied by family.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. No, you don't. You're not doing that. You're doing this and da da da. And also people who are perhaps approaching end of life and might not be as compass mentis, shall we say, not as much aware of what's going on. People can start popping out of the woodwork, family and so on. Yeah, it can be quite. They can be quite.
Some
sad
people
thing.
do it and not realise they're doing it. Like they're so engrossed in their own grief.
Yeah, some are very much. Well, I know my mum best. I knew it,
Yeah,
and that's fine. And like I said, there's no right or wrong. But if somebody's done an advanced care plan, that takes away all of that because they can say, and it's signed. It's a legal document.
Yeah.
You can turn around and say, well, look. This is what your mum wanted. Yeah. This has been written down. It's been, you can make it a legal document, should I say. Not everybody, you don't have to have it as a legal document. But your family and your friends should adhere to what's, it gives you something. It
doesn't always have to be morbid, does it? One of my clients, she's got a book and I think she said,
have to be.
Yeah, on the front it says, I'm dead now, this is your problem.
Yeah.
And like, she's got all the stuff inside there. She said like her family find it hard that she's got it. But she's just finding a happy way to...
For them, they're thinking about, oh, she's talking about dying. We don't want to think about you dying, so we don't want to hear all that. But actually,
it relieves one of her
thoughtful.
worries.
It's you getting out what you want.
Yeah.
And equally, you're taking that pressure and stress off your family because they can say, this is what she wanted.
Yeah.
I think things have changed.
Yeah.
People wouldn't entertain it years ago, and I think people are more into that.
Yeah.
So this as an end of life care facility, I used to do this training program. So the care staff used to come to me.
Yeah.
And it was the Northwest 6-step program. So it's 6 steps. So it's the steps you follow as somebody's becoming, end of life. And it was like what things they could be doing in this and then they go back and cascade it to and implement it into the care home.
Yeah.
And then at the time, Oldham, I mean, I don't even know how this programme's doing now. I don't know if it's still as strong. But then the care homes that were part of it would become part of a group and they would get this 6-step award kind of thing, like so that people, families who were looking to put loved ones into a care home, they could say, oh, well, these have done this course in palliative care, so we know that they're going to get good end-of-life care, which is really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then after a short while with that, I probably did about a year and a half with that. And I think I did there was about 18 care homes I got through.
Wow. Think about how many people that would have affected.
Yeah.
Like from your seed, then train like 10 people, then they pass it on to 10 people and it just keeps growing. And hopefully, like you say, it's carried on.
Yeah.
And now it's just the norm.
Yeah.
It's like just implemented. It's like a normal thing.
But the thing is then what was happening is I was missing my patients.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah.
Patient care.
Yeah.
So then I became a specialist palliative care nurse. So I left that job and became a specialist palliative care job. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Worked in the community. Then horrible happened.
Incident. Yeah.
So horrible happened, and then I ended up leaving there. And like I said, I was lowest. I was low because all that what had gone before, where I'd felt I'd done so well, I'd done X, Y, and Z.
Given so much.
It absolutely floored me, and it made me feel. They made me feel like I wasn't competent, that I hadn't done, and it absolutely crucified me. And it's because of that journey that I'd had to get to that point, for them to do what they did to me, I was at the lowest.
Yeah.
The lowest that you could be.
But you did go to London and they threw it out.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The thing
and
is,
then actually asked me, did I want to sue them, you know?
Oh.
But I was so done.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, it's like, it's so entwined in it, all of that, like they're trying to just protect the bigger thing.
Yeah.
Not really taking care of everything within it. Like, I'll have to check if I can keep this in, but I've got another client who's just had exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah.
Worked for NHS for 30 years.
Horrendous. If I've done something wrong, made a mistake, put my hand up and said, look, I'm really sorry. I have messed up.
That's life, isn't it?
Yeah. Human, yeah. But I would put my hand up and say, I'm sorry, I've made this mistake. You know, I've always been a very candid, open person, so I will say it. If it means something, I'll say it. I don't hide it or dress it up or try and cover it up. Oh, I didn't really do that. Or, you know, even if I'm an with somebody and I've argued the point, I'm telling you, you're wrong. But then I find out that actually it's me who's wrong. I will say, I'm sorry. I've gone over the top. I will say it. But on this occasion, I've done absolutely nothing wrong. What I've done wrong is voicing that I felt like.
You've done the right thing and they felt that that is exposing too many.
So it was bad.
Highlighting, weren't you, things that you didn't think.
But again, it was negative because it had a detrimental effect on me. Like I said, the lowest. I did believe that it was the cause of my dad's cancer. I do. I know that can't be proven, and I know it's not.
There are lots of studies now, though, aren't there, now talking about like stress and stress that's held in. I was going to say that earlier, like when you internalise too many things, obviously the body, there's a book in there, The Body Keeps Score, I think it's called.
But I do.
It was devastating at the time.
It's horrendous.
I don't know how Lisa felt, but we felt.
It was awful.
It was shocking. I can't explain how bad it was.
It's having the carpet whipped from under your feet. Everything that you believed was to be true. This company that you believed in, this job.
Then the positive out of that, here we go. So the positive out of that was, I changed again and I thought, you know what? While that was going on, that's when my dad got first diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, so this was during that time. Okay.
Yeah. And
what year was this?
It was 20... No, actually it wasn't. No, my dad didn't have the cancer then. It was the following year my dad got the cancer. My dad got the cancer in 2018. I left this other job in 2017.
Okay.
And it was the year after that they found it. But all the way through when I was
not well.
Yeah, he weren't so great. And then they found my dad's cancer on... They found my dad's cancer, I think it was on the Tuesday, and then the day after I went with my mum, and my mum got diagnosed with cancer. So there was a day apart.
That's insane.
And that was in 2018. And I think
both parents lived with you at this time as well.
Yeah. And then so when I left in 2017, I was a bit like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? You know, and like I said, I was in a bad way and all the rest of it. Anyway, eventually, I ended up another massive obstacle for me. I went to work back on a ward. Now, I'd never worked the wards because straight out after qualifying, I went into district nursing.
Yeah.
So I went back onto a ward. Now, a ward is run very, very different to working in the community. And so I went back on a ward and I did it as a bank nurse.
Okay, yeah.
And I went doing it as a bank nurse. I thought, I'll just get back into it and see how I feel. And I went on as a bank nurse. And for the first month, I wouldn't let them pay me. I said, I just want to shadow you, just so I can see the drugs med, all the system that you use for this. So that's what I did. Anyway, eventually, I was back on, I was working and so on. Anyway, eventually, they asked me on this trauma ward, trauma and orthopaedics, where my big phobia is bones.
Okay. You like to set yourself some challenges.
I went working on a trauma and orthopaedic ward.
Oh my God.
And everyone said to me, how can you do that? You with your phobia of bones. I said, well, it's different because when they come onto the ward, they're already wrapped up and I don't have to do anything, you know. So I ended up working on this ward for...
So don't come to you if I break my knee or my leg or anything.
No, don't come to me. And literally I worked for a few bank shifts there. Yeah. Then my dad got the diagnosis, right, okay. And my mum got the diagnosis. So I thought, well, this is good. I'll carry on with the bank nursing. But I thought to myself, so this is the positive, positive was that I thought, I need a job where I can work at home.
Yes.
So I can be on hand for my mum and dad, because my dad was my mum's carer anyway. My mum's had previous strokes anyway. So she, she was in the wheelchair on it. So my dad looked after her anyway. And now they've both got cancer. And I'm thinking, I need to be there. So I need to work because I've got bills to pay like everybody. But I could do with something. So then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go into dog grooming. Completely something different. And I thought, I can do bank nursing and dog grooming. I could do dog grooming from home. So anyway, long story short, my dad helped me out and he paid for a pod. And I had it built in Dorset. It was called Wet Pet Solutions.
Oh, amazing.
And I had this pod built. And then, anyway, it took quite a while to build and I carried on working.
And we got a nice weekend away.
Yeah. And then the ward that I was doing bank shifts on asked me would I become permanent and work for them. And they said, but we'll give you time. You can pick your days certain days so that you can.
I'm going to say, like, even
your mum and dad's
one person
appointment.
having treatment, it's very full on.
Yeah.
In it, like, then having two people back and forth to the hospital. Like, I don't even know how you would even manage one job, never mind two jobs.
Well, eventually, I ended up doing it, but then eventually when with the year after, I think it was 2019, they found, because originally my dad was diagnosed with a cup cancer with an unknown primary, so it was secondary cancer he had. They couldn't find the primary. That's a whole other topic you don't want to go in.
Yeah, because I previous to obviously working with people having treatment and stuff, I didn't realise that could happen.
Yeah, cup cancer, yeah.
And if something is secondary, does the
it's
cancer...
already advanced. That's classed as advanced. So if you find a secondary, it means that there has to have been a primary, but a primary you can have a primary and it can disappear.
Okay. So I don't know. In my
secondary
mind,
is an offspurt from it.
Okay,
it's
so in my mind, I thought
system.
it was like a second time.
No.
But then listening to clients and obviously how you've just explained it, it's the cancer. Does it look different? It's formed different because it's more advanced.
So the cancer, the primary cancer, is outside the cells, the glands. It's there. It's grown somewhere
on something or outside of something.
A secondary will have travelled through the lymphatic system and gone to another part of the body, and it'll be inside.
And that's why people
in a
panic
gland.
about
so
the
that's
lymph
how they know
nodes.
it's a secondary, because it's inside.
Okay.
Because it's travelled from somewhere else.
Okay.
But if it's travelled from somewhere secondary, I mean, I'm not a medical profession, so don't anybody ring up and say she's wrong or whatever. I'm just saying this is how I understand it.
Yeah, well, that's why these conversations are important, though, because if somebody has got some information, they can pop it and write it down, and then we're all learning all the time.
This is only how I know it. Like I said, I'm not Harvard referencing it. But it's something like, it's because it's travelled already. So that is classed already as an advanced cancer because it's secondary. Yeah. It's already travelled from somewhere. So it could have been anywhere else in the body.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they couldn't find his primary, kept having tests everywhere, but he'd got it here in his stomach.
Yeah.
So, I'm not quite where I was up to then now.
So
Were
Dad...
you saying when...
sorry. So they found his primary.
Yeah.
So things changed then. It was in his esophagus.
It took like a year to find that.
So it didn't show itself. But then all of a sudden he went for another scan because he started hiccuping, and me and my job, I knew that wasn't right.
Okay.
Something was blocking somewhere, and he went and he said, when I went back to see him, he said, they said that my tumour's grown into my throat. And I knew it was something different to the stomach because he just had radiotherapy for the stomach.
Yeah, but not understanding.
Yeah,
and then it's growing,
and it was quite aggressive. There's nothing they could do. They could give him chemo, but it would never be cured because,
You were saying they offered you the job.
Well, I was in the job. I was working full time then, but so many shifts. But and eventually, this was in the September 2019 that they got the diagnosis of my dad's secondary.
Yeah.
And I carried on working for him, but then it became more apparent that I was having to take him to, and they couldn't be as flexible on the ward as I wanted, which I get because obviously they've got a rota and a ward to run. So eventually I just said, look, I'm going to have to leave and I'll have to go back to doing bank shifts around my dad's appointments and my mum's so I can help them.
Takes the pressure off you.
Oh, it's hard work.
So I left, I left the job on, I think it was the 19th of December, 2019. And then literally 4 weeks later, got diagnosed with breast cancer myself.
But you no longer had a job, did you?
I'd left my job.
Yeah.
And then 4 weeks, like I said, I was doing bank shifts. But then my pod was nearly built.
Okay.
I'd had to step...
so the pod wasn't finished yet at this point. Okay.
And then I got diagnosed on the 31st of January, 2020. Wow. Then 4 days after that, my pod arrived. And came on, it was like...
Your brain must have just been like, taking it in and not processing any of...
And then a month later, COVID started. And it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like escalating. And
so 2020 was not a good year.
Probably worst year in your life.
Not a good year.
So at this point, Mum and Dad lived with you anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that you were all able to be in the same house. And then... You're basically all at home going through treatment.
Husband got furloughed.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah. So my husband got furloughed, so he was looking after me, my mum, my dad, all with cancer.
Yeah.
His in-law, his immediate family.
Yeah, bless him.
But what was hard? I suppose the hardest was the fact that I'd been diagnosed. Now, obviously, I'm worried to death about my mum and dad because they were very close, my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And I was worried about them with cancer. They were worried about me because I'm their daughter and I've got cancer, So that made it hard, really hard. But then with the COVID as well, I had to go and have all my treatment.
Alone,
on my own. And I literally remember, because I had the first surgery, and unfortunately, it travelled to my lymph nodes, which they found out afterwards. I had the first surgery to remove the lump. But then when they took it out and x-rayed the tumour, it was bigger than it had shown on the first x-ray. So then they told me I had to have another surgery. They had to cut it all open again and take a bigger margin. And they had to take all my lymph nodes because it travelled to 4 of my lymph nodes.
Horrendous, really.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, she had to have it all done again.
Yeah.
I wonder, is that normal that can happen then?
I don't know, but it did to me. Story of my life.
2 surgeries that close together. It's that even on your body going under anaesthetic.
It was 4 weeks after, but I think because it'd gone to the lymph nodes, the worry is that
just get it done.
Is it travelling anywhere else? It could carry on travelling, so they want to get it out as soon as you know. So they did that. That was a month later, and it was strange because after the first surgery, it started to heal really well, and I was doing really well. When I went back for the post-op to check that and to give me the results of it travelled to my lymph nodes, and then they said it got in 4 of my lymph nodes, and that they needed to open it up again. That was 4 weeks later. I went in the second time and I had the surgery, and it was weird. I had the surgery, but I had to have a drain in this time.
Okay.
Which I hadn't, and then it all got infected, and then I'm just going to try and make it dead short story because it goes on forever. I ended up going back in. I ended up having to be admitted because I ended up with all these pockets of infected seromas inside. So pockets of fluid, which were infected. So it was red, I had cellulitis all over it. And I think they'd come from the drain.
Okay.
And it was just leaking all the time. And I actually, what I was trying to say was I went into hospital. They admitted me into hospital because I needed to go on IV antibiotics.
Okay.
And I went in on the Monday, and this is in March. I can't remember the date exactly. It might have been around about the 18th. And everything was normal. I was in this ward on the nurses, and everything was fine. And then literally the next day, the door's open and all these nurses come in with masks on.
Oh my God.
The pin is on, and it must have been D-Day on the ward for, right, it's COVID, everybody's got to wear masks and that. And it just changed. It was scary.
I bet it was. And even though you've been a nurse as well, so you've seen it from both, like, I can't imagine what that experience would have been, especially because you're dealing with all of your own things. You're worrying about mum and dad at home, your husband at home, trying to keep everything afloat as well. It's just so much to deal with. Then these people walk in with masks and this unknown disease.
It's unbelievable. And so I had all that, and it was like, wow, and nobody could come and visit you or anything. Anyway, I went home, and then there was trying to get me ready to start my chemo. But you have to be healthy and well to start your chemo. So this all had to be healed, which it wasn't. I was struggling with that. Then I ended up with a tiny blood clot in my arm. So then they had to stop again. There was a few different things.
Yeah.
And then when my first chemotherapy came along, even through all this, I hadn't really cried I just got on with it.
Your brain would have not even known which bit to cry
when
about.
I talk about it and when I think about it, I can't even comprehend how I got through it. I don't, because my dad was having chemo at the time, and it was just bizarre. Were you having to go
back and forth with them as well, or were they getting picked up?
My mum was on oral treatment, so she didn't have to, but my mum did end up in hospital anyway with other comorbidities and things going on. But my dad, Darren was constantly taking my dad to Christie's, bringing him back.
Yeah. You're all having to kind of... Yeah. So usually if you got poorly, Darren would focus 100% on you, but he's having to share his caring, and then you're having to not care for yourself properly because you're having to care for others. It's
the chemo side. When I started my chemo, I have to say that was the very first day that I cried.
Yeah.
I went in and I sat down, and the nurse came in to see me, and when she was, obviously knew I was a nurse, and this saying, right, here I go, Liz, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And she gave me my tablets, and because she knew I was a nurse, she used the terminology. She said, oh, so there's some antiemetics and your dexamethasone. And I went, all right, thank you. And she went out of the room, and all of a sudden, it was like, that was me saying to patients, oh, they'll give you this, they'll give you that, because you're going to have your chemo, and this is for this, and this is for that. And all of a sudden, I'm holding this pot, and I thought, I've got cancer.
You're on the other side.
Yeah. I thought, I've got cancer. Wow, and this is for me, Yeah. And I literally took this tab, and while I was taking it, I was just, tears were just, I weren't sobbing, but just tears coming. When she came in, she said, are you okay? I said, yeah. I said, I've just realised I've got cancer. I said, no, that sounds bizarre. And that was the first time.
I wonder if, like, a lot of people have that moment, like, realisation.
Yeah. And then I went home from there and just sat at home waiting to, right, am I going to feel ill now? And it's daft because this is what I've done. I know the side effects. I'm telling patients what they're going to get, You might feel this, you might feel that. And then all of a sudden, it's as though someone's just wiped my brain, and I think, how am I going to feel? Am I going to be like... And it was strange because all of a sudden, I was on the other side.
Did you have like an out-of-body experience, you think? Like, was it as if it wasn't happening to you? Or at this point, did you feel like it was definitely happening to you?
I think the whole time when I'd had the surgeries and I'd been in the hospital... I think I must have just been
going through.
Yeah.
Like decomposed.
I think I was just going through the motions. I think I was just, right, I'm having this surgery, right, I've got to go back there, and I've got to have the... It was like almost organised, right, I'm going there on that day, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Dad, you've got your appointment, you need this, Mum, you're right, and that's how it was.
Yeah.
And then that sitting in that chair was the first realisation when she gave me medication. I thought, I've got cancer. Yeah, it was hard. But then after that, obviously, I was going through my chemo, which was horrific. It was horrible, as anybody would tell you. It was really bad. But we had our bubble then, and obviously Marie was amazing, my mother-in-law.
So Marie's in the room with us at the minute. Yeah. That's who you've been hearing.
The best part of 3 years with Lisa.
Yeah.
Really?
So there was Marie and Darren, and honestly, between them, they were just an absolute... rocks, because Marie also looked after my dad, my mum, in lots of ways. And she was in our bubble, because obviously with COVID bubbles.
Yeah. So did you all live?
It was important as well, because I used to go in a lot, particularly towards the end with your dad. I was going into the room all the time because they lived in the apartment.
Yeah.
Attached. and just making sure, do you want to drink? Because your dad was quite fit until...
Yeah, he was a very fit man, my dad. He didn't have really anything else going on other than the cancer.
I spent a lot of time going in.
Yeah.
I'd go in 11 times a day.
Yeah.
Just to make
But what that would do is it by Marie doing that, it took the pressure off me. Yeah. I mean, I had to do the night shifts with my dad.
Yeah.
Obviously, privacy and dignity.
The mornings when you weren't so good, and I'd go in at say 7:30 because I was staying there, and there was a box of tablets, and I'm not a nurse, I couldn't be a nurse, but
I'd written them all down.
So you had to organise
them so that I could understand which were in order.
I'd written them down as well, hadn't I?
Yeah, and they're in this box. Cedric's here in bed, and I went, who's been messing with these tablets? And this voice comes through.
Because I had a monitor from my bedroom into my dad's.
I said, it's a good job I'm not chatting your dad out.
Yeah.
And this voice,
I bet you are.
It was a baby monitor, so I could hear my dad. My dad could speak if he needed me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it was. Funny. But again, without Darren and Marie, I don't know what we would have done. Honestly, it'd been really difficult because I was still obviously trying to be involved and help, and obviously which I was.
It was difficult for Darren as well because apart from the worry, you've got 3 people.
Poorly.
Then my mum got took into hospital with other things going on. My mum has lots of other comorbidities, and so, but she got took into hospital, and then because of COVID, she couldn't come back out. But then my dad's, as I was having my treatment, and my dad was having his treatment, a lot of the time, my dad would have problems, I'd have problems. So regularly ambulances would be coming to our house and they'd say, is it for you or your dad? You know, and one week it'd be my dad, next week it'd be me. And literally go in and the nurse would go, oh, your dad was in. Say, yeah, I know, you know.
I got COVID in hospital.
Yeah, it was really, it just was a really, really difficult time. And
I bet there's just so much that you could...
Yeah, I mean, I'm skimming over here. This is a real basic thing of it, because then finally when I got obviously then we went to finish my chemotherapy, which was horrendous itself. There were times, like I said, Darren had to roll me to get me off the settee. But one thing I wouldn't do was go to bed. I wouldn't stay in bed. I got up every day and I put my jammies on, and and again,
fresh jammies.
This for me now is the positive out of the cancer. Yeah, out of on that journey. For me, if I know COVID was horrendous for a lot of people, and I'm not decrying it. My best friend lost her dad to COVID, and I know there was a lot of people. It's horrendous. For me, trying to find a positive out of it and out of the cancer. If I hadn't got the cancer, and if COVID hadn't have come along, I wouldn't have got the time that I had to spend with my mum and dad. Yeah, I know all my other family, but with my mum and dad who'd both been diagnosed because of COVID and because I wasn't working because I had cancer. And normally I'd be doing 13.5-hour shifts at the hospital. My husband was not working on the smart motorways. You know, we were like ships that passed in the night. I and mum, my dad, and me and Darren. You know, if it hadn't have come along like that, I wouldn't have got to spend that time with my mum and dad. And at the beginning with COVID, the weather was beautiful, weren't it? So we were sat outside every day. I used to say to my mum. Right, you know, for quite a few days we did, this is at the very beginning, I'd say, we'll have, before full lockdown was in. Okay. You know, it was,
I remember those days where we all were like,
and we sat outside and I used to say, right, let's pretend we're in Spain today and we'll have a Spanish dinner. Amazing. And I play Spanish music because my mum loves Spain. I love Spanish as well. So we do different things every day, and then
really sparking joy in that day.
Yeah, and then as it went on, then obviously Marie came into our bubble, so was with Marie all the time. Marie was there all the time. She was a key.
I said, well, I'll stay in Melanie's because I've done an apartment. I used to live where Lisa is now.
Yeah.
I've done an apartment over Melanie
next door.
Okay.
And then, to go off the story a bit, the dog had puppies, and Lisa said...
Yeah, I had puppies as well. Not me personally.
The dog rang and said, can you bring the scale up? So I'm waiting at the front door and nobody came.
To weigh these newborn puppies.
Oh my God.
So I can't go in, Lisa.
That were an
because I'm
accident.
not in her
Oh.
bubble. The next thing, I just have to walk in because she's not coming. She's over the puppies.
Being delivered.
Respiration.
Bald as a badger.
Finished a chemo.
Oh, bless her.
No hair. And she's delivering puppies and she's so... I said, I'm sorry I had to come in. And she went,
Start cleaning that puppy and weigh it. And then from that day you ended up staying, didn't you?
I'd be holding the,
And she then became part, yeah, then became part of our bubble.
And that was it then, you went a
Yeah,
release
so
again.
during my chemo, we've got 6 dogs now.
I was going to say about, was that intentional?
Yeah, we had 4 dogs at the time when I was having chemotherapy,
Right.
and basically, long story short, 2 of them mated.
Okay.
And it shouldn't have happened because the dog she mated was only 10 months old, but Buddy was due to go and have his bits done, but it didn't happen because of everything going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, it happened, and I was like, oh my God. And then she come back Darren had took her to the vets, come back and said, yeah, she's pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And
I suppose it's a nice distraction.
And we both went.
Actually, it was.
We both said, we don't want...
It's better puppies than a baby.
Yeah,
sometimes it's babies that come in it.
I said, we can't get rid of them. Darren said, I'm not getting rid of them, you know.
Oh,
so then, coming back to me saying that if I'm doing something, I've got to know the ins and outs.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. I was having traumas then. So I'm sat there thinking, oh my God. And I worked out the due date and I thought, oh, please don't come when I've just had my last chemo because I'll be really ill and I won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I was panicking about that. But then equally I'm thinking, I'm going to have to deliver these puppies. I've never delivered puppies before. I don't know. So that was me.
So then you
Darren
became a
had turned
puppy
around
deliverer.
some night in the nights and he said, what are you doing? And I'd be up at 5 o'clock on my iPad on YouTube looking at whelping puppies. What to do, how not to do it.
We had a beautiful, like a hospital tray, everything.
Oh, I ordered all the stuff, all the equipment.
Yeah, so you went to town.
Had to be perfect.
Cards for the weight.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so good.
And then
But like we were saying earlier, things do happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And puppies might have been sent to really help
they did.
distract you from
And like
what
I
else
said-
you could have been Googling at 2 morning.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Because we do, don't we? We sit when you can't, when you're stressed and stuff and you Google like not very good things, but at least it's puppies.
Oh, it was puppies.
Puppies make everything
But
bad.
like I say, and it was good because, like I said, I got to spend that time with my mum and dad.
Yeah.
We had the puppies. Obviously, I've got to spend. Marie was with us and Darren. You know, it was good. And then I suppose that was it. Then I got the all clear. Unfortunately, my dad didn't. You know, they told my dad he couldn't have any further treatment.
Okay.
That was that. And then literally, my dad passed away in the June 21.
Okay. Was he at home or?
At home, yeah.
Okay.
And literally, my mum was in a care home at the time. She was quite poorly. She had been backwards and forwards in hospital with COVID as well. And literally, my mum, I think it was 6-7 weeks later, passed away from heartbreak. It wasn't cancer or anything. She literally it was as though somebody, when we told her that my dad had passed away, it's like somebody clicked a switch.
I do believe that.
And that was it. Yeah. On the death certificate, it should have said died of a broken heart, you know. But we always knew, all through our life, we all knew that the day if my dad ever went before my mum, this is what would happen. And it did. My dad used to always say to me, he said, not for selfish reasons, he said, but I hope your mum goes before me because I think my dad would have coped with it better. Yeah. You know, I knew my mum wouldn't because she'd been with my dad. She known my dad 75 years. They were 5 years old. They used to play, they lived around the corner from each other. They used to play out on the street. And my dad pulled my mum's pigtail and he said, I'll marry you, Barbara Quinn. And they did. Aww. Now, I know my dad had other girlfriends, but my mum didn't. My mum only knew my dad. Yeah. Only ever been with my dad, you know. Yeah, so
I can imagine that when someone's gone, it feels...
Yeah, so they were together all that time and he was absolutely everything. He was a rock to her because He cared for her. She had strokes.
he was really
It was
good.
amazing with her. He really, really, and he never moaned. Never, ever moaned. Even through his cancer, my dad.
Really?
Never once did you hear a moan or a groan. Or even when they told him can't do anything, and I was absolutely broken-hearted. I remember where we were sat in the apartment on his bed. He'd got the phone call. And I was sat next to him, again, bald as a badger, and he's sat with his hair. We've got some lovely pictures of us in COVID dancing, where my husband's videoed us. We're both bald, and he's got he didn't go completely bald, but he had them 1 o'clocks, what you blowing.
Oh, yeah.
I think the one thing I remember about this, when you were, I think you're going through treatment, and I don't think you got any hair then.
No.
Christmas Eve, which most people would be on the bed, very miserable.
Yeah.
Lisa was standing there with a list. She'd done a list of things we were going to do. We were going to
Itinerary.
sing.
Yeah.
We were going to
The Daly Tavern, I called it, Christmas Eve.
Oh, it was at the Daly Tavern at the top.
Set me music
We were
gear
going
on.
to do a quiz and all different, and your mum was poorly. Well,
Yeah.
she was fed up, wasn't she? And there was just the 5 of us because we were in a bubble.
Yeah.
And Lisa's going through this, bald as badger. But she's done all these games
Yeah.
to try and keep us all.
Like the spirit up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. But like I said, it was special times that I got with
Yeah.
my family. So
Yeah.
I do think it, it
See
was...
the blessing in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm one of those people, though, that COVID there were blessings in it for me.
Yeah, there
in
was.
different ways. But I think, like you say, other people have got very different experiences. And like you say, but I think bringing families together, it really did.
It did. I mean, I know for some people it's horrendous because it brought
things
couples,
to light.
domestics and so on, a lot of people.
I was able to look after you.
Yeah. Neither of us would have ever had that time off work.
No.
We wouldn't have been able to. It was just, even though it wasn't, how can I say, it wasn't amazing because obviously it was backwards and forwards in Christmas and that, but I could take the positive out of the other time together because my dad would have probably had the cancer anyway and my mum would have had the comorbidities.
Yeah.
If the COVID hadn't come and I had cancer, if I hadn't have had the cancer, I'd have been going into work as a nurse.
Yeah.
I'd have been on the wards,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have had that time with my mum and dad.
Yeah.
So I do think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer in that, whether it's good or bad, I do think it does. And I do always sit and think that you've got to take a positive out of it.
Balance.
And on the other side of it now, for me, the positive, and I do really believe it, it's that massive thing that's changed my life was meeting yourself.
Oh.
I was just going
100%.
The most amazing thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
She'll tell you.
It is. It's yeah. It's me. It was meeting you. It
That's crazy.
instantly changed my life, and it's not just the fact that. How can I say? It's not just the fact that I came down and what we've
You'll
done
end up
with my
making me
hair.
cry.
Yeah, what you've done with my hair.
I'll end up making me cry.
It's how much you actually care about what you do. It's
I
a
love what I
genuine
do.
and as a customer, I feel that from you. I feel that you care. It's not just, oh, right, I'm going to get so much money from this appointment, or it's this. I know, obviously, we've all got to make a livelihood. I know that, but I don't ever feel it's money orientated. I know that you've got a passion in it, and it's something you really believe in, and it's the for me how I feel when I'm. Obviously, when I come down, I feel special for that. I was going to say 2 hours, but we normally talk the socks, or I probably knock your socks off for about 4 hours.
I always make sure you're my last client.
Lisa's coming, batten down the bridges. Yeah.
We pack lunch.
Yeah, but I do sit there. Yeah,
I can't imagine, though, you not being this confident and stuff, though, but I suppose it's the internal stuff, so that people don't see that. I think it's changes.
I think it's more the after effect, because if I say, like now, Sharni, that feeling what I get from you, that it's got to be great, but it's not that. It's that I leave and I just feel amazing because my hair feels good. Yeah. My hair wasn't this good before the cancer. Oh. It was it wasn't. It was thin. It was thin. Yeah, it was thin. It's weird, really, because I get a lot of compliments on my hair.
It's to do with the hair, because you know, I've never known anybody to get as many compliments. And it's to do with the hair, because your suit.
My face is foul, but my hair's gorgeous.
Your face is gorgeous.
I'm joking.
It's grand, glorious.
Yeah, I think you carry yourself different when,
Your hair's 75% of your appearance. They say that, don't they?
Yeah.
Your hair can completely change how you look.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And the thing is, I think whatever you decide to do with your hair, like if somebody decides to just shave it off and they rock a grade 1, like if they wear it with confidence, whatever hair it is, that it's the way they carry themselves in it. And I think, like you say, wearing, like it give you that finishing touch.
Do you know though, Sharni, and this is, I'm being absolutely honest here. When I had to, obviously, I was going to lose my hair with the chemo.
Yeah.
And after the first chemo, they said you'll start to lose your hair, and you know. I had the first chemo and I thought, I'm all right, you know. And I went to some friends for a barbecue.
Okay. Yeah.
And we sat outside in the garden because obviously it was COVID.
Oh, yeah, when we're all sat this far
away.
Yeah.
And it was windy.
Right.
It was sunny, but it was windy. And while we sat there and was talking, bits of my hair were like flying out. And it was after my chemo, obviously, after my first chemo. So we were quite a distance and thing, because obviously I'm neutropenic then, aren't I? Because I'm on chemotherapy. And I've got hair, and the hair was like coming out like this. And I thought, oh, I can't go with it. So I thought it's got to come off. And I arranged for my hairdresser to come, and he came. And the day before I was actually having it cut, I was crying. I was really upset. I'd had all my extensions taken out, obviously, in preparation. So it was already thin and fine. But then I had my chemo. Then it started coming out. And the day came, and all the way up to him coming, I was crying my eyes out. I was so upset. I was like, oh, I can't believe that this is going to happen, that I'm going to have all my hair shaved. And he came, and he shaved all my hair off. And he's a bit of a character anyway. So I was having a laugh, and me being me, trying to do the bravado, even though I've been crying my eyes out to it. And my husband could hardly
You're trying to cheer him up.
Darren had hardly spoken to me all day, because I don't think he knew what to say to me. He kept just like disappearing. And he cut it all off.
He didn't want anybody there.
I just didn't want I just didn't want like to be like a, you know. But anyway, he could cut all my hair off, and he said, right, do you want to go and have a look? And I got up, and I literally went, because we did it outside, it was gorgeous weather. I got up, I walked inside, and I looked in the mirror, and I just went, right, okay. And honestly, I never cried another drop out. And I was like, right, fine.
Do you think that's... I was crying because I was looking out.
And seeing me having my hair cut.
Crying, looking across.
I never cried another thing. And I come back in, and he said, what do you think? And I went, could you just leave it a little bit longer here? You know, could have just... But
do you think it goes back to that control thing again? Because you decided at that point, right, I'm shaving it off.
Because
so
it was driving me mad. It's my decision. I'm going to cut it off now. Even though I cried all the way up to it.
Knowing that it's
once it had gone, I was like, right, fine. But then it became the least of my worries, because I thought, I'm having chemo, and I was starting having the kids, and then my mum and dad, and then I'm thinking, it'll grow back, it'll grow back. And everyone kept saying it'll grow back thicker and curlier and all the rest of it. Well, it didn't. But the thing is, I'm on letrozole, so that's not going to help my hair either. Yeah. But so then going through that with no hair, then it grew back, then I had the extensions, as I said before, and then that damaged my hair again. And then Abby said the magic word Sharni K, and literally it has absolutely changed my life. And it really has. And I don't want to sound like I'm trying to like really make it look at, you know, this, that. I'm saying it because I genuinely feel it. And I think even for like your students as well, I think it's important for them to know if they are going into this business and this specialise in this, I think they've got to have that really want to care and do what they're doing, and are loving what they're doing, not just, oh, I'm going to do this because I can make a lot of money doing it.
And that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because I want to humanise the people that sit in our chair, so that people who decide to go into this like industry understand who they're helping and what effect it can have on their mental health if you don't do it properly and if you don't care, because the industry is getting flooded with loads of amazing people that are amazing at it, but we've also got some where the ethics are not coming through. And that's why I wanted to do this from an educational stance, to humanise everybody, let them understand what the effects can be of doing this job, because I obviously love it and it's incredible. But I think more than anything, it will change your clients' lives, and it's changed my life.
Yeah.
So it is a two-way street. I now work with people who want me to be well. I've never experienced that before.
Yeah.
Like my clients now, and like yourself, if I know, probably for the first time in my career, if I turned up at work and said I really don't feel well,
I'd say go home.
yeah, straight away. It's like a completely different perspective. And everybody just has a completely different look on life, and they've helped me see life very differently and really understand what's important.
Yeah.
And listening to everybody else's experiences, like reading all the notes and everything last night, I said to my partner, like, I just find that's extraordinary. Like, that's why the podcast is what it is. It's like, it is extraordinary, but at the same time, it's quite ordinary because so many people are going through it. And yet you're still trying to have an ordinary life while you're doing these extraordinary things, like helping other people and then helping your parents and going through treatment. I just think there's so many connections that can be made and so many people that can be helped on both sides as well. Like, and that's why it's important that you've got to be authentic and be doing it for the right reason.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you do that brilliantly. The way by the way that you want to help other students become and do it to the best of their ability. But the impact that what you do on somebody's life is unbelievable, because it really has made a difference to me. I can get up now in the morning and be ready within 15 minutes.
That's good.
In the past, no, seriously.
I was up at 6 a.m. this morning.
Seriously, in the past, before cancer with my old hair, honest to God, it was a nightmare. I'd be up, and because it was fine, I'd be up and I'd be like, I'll have to wash it. Will this be? I mean, I used to wash and dry my hair, and this is gospel truth. Once I'd wash my hair and come out of the shower, from it being dry to straight, probably about 4.5 minutes.
Right.
It was just so dead easy. Dry it upside down to try and get as much. And I was always trying to put as much in it to make it as thick as I could. But then if I went out and I got slightly hot, or I was dancing, I was gigging, it'd be stuck to my face. It looked awful within minutes. This is just unbelievably different. It's better. And people now will say to me, "Oh God, your hair's amazing." Or they'll go, "Is that all your own hair now?" Or just say to me, "Your hair looks really good." But I feel I have to say, "Yeah, but it's not all my own, And then I have to sit there and say, "It's called IntelliMesh. Have you heard of IntelliMesh?" Well, what it is?
Educating.
And then I go, the only way I can describe it is, do you remember the old streaking caps where you used to put on your head and pull so many hair through? And then I start going through it all, and all they've said to me is, "Your hair looks nice," instead of just saying, "Thank you."
My friend said, "I didn't realise Lisa had done that, because it looks so natural."
You wear it so well and with confidence, because I think that's a massive factor, and you're committed to taking care of it. So, like, it is incredible, but it is a commitment, isn't it? Like, your commitment to me, coming to see me, and luckily we've got Abby, so Abby will see you in between and tighten it for us. And I do that with a lot of hairdressers, work with them, but it is a commitment on both sides. And I think I can tell that you're committed and you're taking care of it, and especially because you're blonde, it's the hardest colour to take care of. So it is teamwork. It's like, I could do a great job, but then if you go home, if I hadn't educated you how to look after it, it wouldn't look great at home, and vice versa. You could be looking after it great and I could be doing a rubbish job. So I think it is teamwork, and that's why when you choose a specialist or like a stylist decides to work with somebody, it is about connection. No, for me, like, knowing that you are confident enough to tell me that's too tight, I'd like that a little bit to the left. I didn't like it when it was like this. When I laid down, I could feel it here. It's like those small things are all part of the bigger experience.
I always accept that, though. When I've been for the first time, or it's been tightened. That when I lie on that pillow at night, I'm like,
you're going to know it's
let
there.
me just pull it this way, but that way, because you can feel like,
you're like conscious of it.
You see the difference in now and when you had a wig. When Lisa had a wig on,
I was constantly pulling it,
touching it. Yeah, that's the wearing with confidence, because I always say to clients, like, even like my wig clients, I'm like, what will attract somebody to you wearing a wig is you touching it and pointing it out, because every time your hand goes to it, they'll be thinking, what's she touching that for? And then eventually the brain starts to try and figure it out.
I'd be like that. I'd be talking to someone and I'd go, aren't you?
And move your hair.
And that, I was a little bit like that. You know, when I had the tapes that time,
Yeah.
I was conscious. I was constantly going,
yeah, touching the
and
tape.
then I thought, no, this isn't for me, the tapes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. This has been the best one now, where the stitching,
Yeah. I did a post about you trying the tape, actually, with my students. And I'm like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you feel that you just want to try. And then
I did try it, and when we first did it, you put it on and I said, that's brilliant. That's the best it's felt, because it was really flush to me.
Yeah.
And I said, that's great.
Yeah.
But the tape just didn't work for me. It'd be off in about
and
an hour.
And that's so.
And I was like, what am I doing? It's like this, sticking it down.
And the strange thing is, I love it. I've got another client who has it on for 6 weeks, washes the hair, and it doesn't come off for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's why what works for one don't work for another. And as a specialist, I've got to ask the questions and not be offended when something doesn't work. It's like, I've got to listen to the feedback and do a better job and understand it worked for that client, it didn't work for that one. Let's find a different path.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I watched Abby Knighton.
Oh, did you?
On iSet, because I used to be a hairdresser.
Oh, did you?
And iSet I was watching. I'm very good at crafts and anything like that.
You want to have a go?
I said, I think I could do that. It's a bit like craft work.
Well, in COVID, I were getting people's husbands to do it. I were FaceTiming them, and their husbands would be there with their little clamps, and I'd be like, right, open the lock and push it up. So quite a few of my clients' husbands had a go. So
it is good. And you know what? If somebody...
You've got to have a lot of patience, haven't you, to do it?
Yeah, I think, but one of the good things and one of the mindset shifts of the hairdresser, if you're changing, is to learn that it's okay to take your time. Because a general hairdresser, we're taught back to back, booking in, like double book, and then having to change your mindset. It does take a while to not rush and not do those things. But yeah, I love it that I don't have to rush anymore, and I can take my time and give people the time.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing is, if somebody said to me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I'd be where I am today, as in setting up a business, got my own business now, which I'm...
What's your business called, by the way?
Broadway Backs and Bubbles.
Although we're advertising it, and you can't fit no more in, can you?
Broadway Backs and Bubbles,
dogs.
Home from home dog boarding, it is, and I love it. And that was amazing. That's a big achievement that I've done, because I feel like I never felt I could do that. But if somebody said to me 2 years ago, you'll be running your own business, you'll have fantastic hair, and then since my surgeries, obviously I've got boobs of a 26-year-old now. Because they're all still my own. Because my boobs are that big. Yeah, I've had this surgery. Obviously my boobs there. That's the other positive.
Yeah.
I never believed them, and have this amazing, fantastic hair. So
that brings me to my questions. Actually,
yeah.
The podcast is called Tell Her, because what I want to do to wrap everything up is ask you the questions.
Yeah.
I sent them out to you, didn't I? But what would you tell your past self, present and future self, if you could give her a little bit of advice?
So my past self, if I could now speak to myself when I was younger, I think it would be to have dreams, believe in your dreams, that you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you can't do something, or define you, or say, no, that, you can't do that. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve. When I look at the things I've achieved now, perhaps when I was younger, I probably thought, I won't be able to do any of that. So I would say to my younger self, follow your dreams, believe in yourself, and never give up. Keep trying to do what you want to do.
What about your present self? How would you keep yourself grounded? Or how do you keep yourself grounded?
I think I've pretty much said it. It's about staying positive. It's about, and I also believe, live every day, wake up every day and just think, right, what's today going to bring? Not to try not to stress over things that you can't change.
Yeah.
Don't give that energy to things you can't change. And I have found that since my cancer, I don't worry over things that actually doesn't really matter.
It
doesn't really matter. I actually stop myself now before, if I think, oh God, I stop myself and think, actually, in the grand scheme of things, does it matter?
Yeah.
So I think it's about not stressing over things. And I think it's about surrounding yourself with good, positive things. Don't have negative. Don't be in situations that are negative. Don't surround yourself with negative people. Don't take on other people's negativities, and you
it's
just
really
believe what
easy
you
to
want.
absorb.
It is. Just you do what you want to do and believe in yourself, and just, I think, be kind to people. I think it is. I think just I treat people as I want to be treated myself. So I think it's about being kind, try and stay positive, and not stressing about things that you can't change, that are going to happen anyway, and you're just giving that energy to that. Just worry about it when it happens, and, you know.
Yeah. I suppose, like, your future self, you've already been through your full journey, haven't you? So I suppose, like, what would you tell your future self other than that you're amazing?
My future self, I would just say, you've just got to keep going. And again, I think just live your life and believe in yourself and be confident. How can I say? Be happy with what you've got. And the people who surround you, the people who are in your life. Be grateful for your family and your friends and what you have got. You know, I think a lot of times, and I think we all do it at some point or other, we're all striving for something else, and I want that, or the better car, or the da-da-da-da-da. But actually, I think,
where does it end?
When you think, what we do is all the time when we're striving for all these extra more things of this and that and the better of that, you forget actually what you have actually got and what's actually important. And, you know, for me, looking forward now, it doesn't matter how many pounds, pence you've got in the bank or how much money you've got. If you haven't got your health and you haven't got your family, you've got nothing. Because money's not going to keep you. Well, you know, it might help with some stresses or bills, but you haven't got
people
anything.
that have got money and they still have the same treatments. And
they can be very lonely. They can, you know. So for me, if you haven't got your health and you haven't got a nice family surround or a friend or, you know, that, you know.
Family can come in so many different forms as well, can't it?
It doesn't have to be blood related. You can, you know, I mean, I'm very close to Marie, you know, and, you know, we're not blood related, but I'm very close to her. And I know a lot of people don't normally say that about the mother-in-law, but I actually love her to bits, you know. She's like another mum to me, you know. I don't feel, I never say, oh, it's my mother-in-law, you know. I don't feel like that because, to be honest, she's been an absolute massive influence in my life since I met Darren, you know. We've had times where we've had loggerheads, but that's because we're both strong and we both support our men, and it was, you know, but what I'm saying is, on the whole, we get on very well. We're very similar in lots of ways, aren't we? Like, things we like. And
what made me smile then, I can remember your mum saying to me, it was when she was poorly, she said, you tell Lisa straight, don't you? And she said, I don't. I don't tell her straight, but no, you do.
I'd be scared I'd be telling my mum off. You remember we say, well, I'm not telling Lisa, she'll tell me.
I like those people who tell me straight because I know where I stand.
I'm a very straight person.
I'll surrounded by people who I know where if they're upset with me, they can tell me and I can
You can either say, well, I'm sorry, but that's how I felt, or I don't dress anything up. I don't. And I'm not saying I'm always right, because just because you've got an opinion and you're straight with somebody, it doesn't mean that what you're doing is right, but it is.
When you're wrong,
I always think it's better.
You can always. I think when emotions are heightened, then you might think you're right, but when, like you say, that reflection time, that happens to me.
So I think my future self, it would definitely be appreciate what you've got.
Yes.
Not keep worrying for grabbing for more, reaching for more. Just be appreciative of what you've got, and if other good things come your way, then they come your way.
Amazing advice. Yeah. Thank you so much for today.
You're very welcome.
I feel like we could have talked for another 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, we always do. This is quite short for us.
I know, it's been amazing.